Okay, everybody, today is a new truth or a Truth Tuesday that we have so much truth to throw at you. We've got a list because I started the list. I've been talking with Sean in the green room backstage. He's got even more of a list. So get your notes out, get a pencil, get a piece of paper, take some notes, and then spread this truth. Go to Sean's channel if you're on my channel. Give him a like and a subscribe. If you're on Sean's channel, run over to my channel, give a like and a subscribe. Say hi to everybody in both chats. There's great community on both channels. And make sure you get your butt over to my website, litecoinlisa.net, and get your tickets to the Team Mighty event. Sean is coming. Bitcoin Ben is coming. Big Square is going to be there. My mom's going to be there. We've got Dr. McDaniel that was on my show yesterday. He's coming up. Greg from Rivet on World Blockchain Roundtable is coming. We've got Public Awakening is coming. Johnny Litecoin's coming. More and more and more people are coming, and we want you to be there. So join us. Hey there, Sean. How are you?
Hey there, Lisa. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just bursting at the seams. There's so much to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. Hello, everyone in the chat.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
And a big thanks to Silver Jim. She made a donation for our silent auction for Team Mighty. She donated a big crystal or geode that we're going to have there as a silent auction item. So I'm super excited about that. We'll be getting that in soon as well. So lots of cool things in our silent auction for the event we're going to have. So this morning I was watching Bitcoin Ben. He wasn't able to join us today because he is he's moving, and the pods came today and were delivered on the driveway. I did ask.
Okay.
No.
Everybody but Sean. So we've probably been buddies longer than any of the other people he's been on with, but all right.
No, I did ask. But he's
We haven't been friends longer than him and Bix.
Yeah, so, friends a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so he brought up a great point this morning on his show. If you guys aren't watching his show, make sure you go follow him. He's on like his 4th or 5th channel because he keeps getting nailed for, speaking the truth. But the slimeball Pope, Catholic Pope, went over to Canada and said, I humbly beg forgiveness for the evil committed by so many Christians against the indigenous people. Stay with me, people, on all this. You guys know I have been tracking the whole McGirt thing in Oklahoma, and we're gonna talk about that. Stay with me on this. They showed there's also stories that there was a headdress of a tribe that has been kept at the Vatican, which is like just obscene because it should be with that tribe, but it was kept at the Vatican of this Canadian tribe. And I guess that's now being returned to this tribe. And this is a WebBot hit, though. About 2 years ago, in Cliff High's data, this was a WebBot hit that when this happened, when the Pope traveled to Canada to apologize and ask for forgiveness to the indigenous people, that this was going to be like a huge WebBot hit or a marker that the secrets revealed were going to start coming out like crazy. And you're starting to see that just kind of all over. Like, I mean, I can't even, keep up with stuff today. Matt Gaetz was speaking, and he's like telling that he put the, which they wouldn't let me post that on Twitter either. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, okay. That gets me, I don't want to get ahead of myself on my story. But, so yeah, tons of stuff coming out. I'll stay with the indigenous people story. So I was trying to share this with some other people a few days ago. You guys know that I have been following the McGirt thing, and here it says how will this Oklahoma law enforcement adjust after the Supreme Court ruling? So in Oklahoma City today, Attorney General John O'Connor sent written guidance to Oklahoma law enforcement district following the United States Supreme Court decision, Oklahoma versus Castro Huerta, a decision that recognized Oklahoma can prosecute non-Indians who commit crimes against Indians. Let me go to the story. So the significance of this story is that this was, okay, I'll just read it for you guys. Memorandum is a working document. So the Castro Huerta decision, the U.S. Supreme Court held that Oklahoma has jurisdiction over all non-Indian criminal defendants within its borders, including any land that constitutes Indian country. In the case, Castro, a Mexican national, was convicted by an Oklahoma jury of abusing his 5-year-old Indian stepdaughter. Castro argued that because his victim was Indian, that Oklahoma could not prosecute him. The Indian nations agreed with Castro in a brief filed with the Supreme Court. In rejecting this argument, the Supreme Court observed that Castro would require this court to treat Indian victims as second-class citizens, and we declined to do so. So before this came down, what they were saying previously, which has now been thrown out, was that the U.S. or Oklahoma, the state, could not have held this person responsible because he was a Mexican national and he harmed an Indian child. And so they were saying, you have no jurisdiction to prosecute this person because they are not an American citizen, and this happened on Indian land to an Indian child. And the fact that a Indian court would say this is insane to me. But so our daughter,
and I think that they're correct.
Well, it's insane, and it's now been thrown out. And
why is it insane?
Because because the United States should be able, if somebody hurts a child in the U.S., then they should be able to hold them accountable.
In the U.S. They weren't in the U.S. though, were they? Or were they?
Yes, they were in Oklahoma.
No, they weren't. Were they on Indian ground?
No, they're saying that it's because the child was Indian.
Right, but where did it? It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Where did it happen at? Where did the act happen? If it was on a reservation, then
I don't know that it was on a reservation. It just says.
Do you think the Canadian government should be able to do whatever they want to everyone in Alaska?
No.
Right, because they're Americans. Now, this is one of those things that I had figured out when I was a child. I had most of everything figured out when I was 5 years old. It was explained to me that, we took over and did terrible, evil things to the Indians. And we were at war with Indian nations, with like tribes, Indian nations, just like Israel, just like the Israelis. They're a tribe. We made a peace accord. We had treaties, and we gave them their own nations. That this is your land, this is your country. We will have nothing to do with it. It is your country to rule and have liberty and freedom. We believe liberty and freedom for all, So you don't mess with us, and you don't cross that line, and we don't cross that line. This is your nation. But then we also gave them no help. They don't get like electricity. They live like shit because they are not full Americans. They're not. Okay. Now I know it's a little bit of a weird situation, but
it's not true.
That's their own. That's why they had casinos in places where that's illegal, because they were their own nation. Just to say that they're geographically located in a certain area so America can tell them what to do is wrong. Look at the Pacific Islands. What if Australia or some other country say, hey, we do what we want with Hawaii because it's over here?
A decision that is recognized, Oklahoma can prosecute non-Indians who commit crimes against Indians in land that has been held to be Indian country.
Let's say that I want to get a hooker, or I got to think of something that's illegal. I want to do something that's illegal here, but I go to a different country, and I do it there.
This is not talking about doing anything illegal. It's saying this is specifically saying talking about harming.
Do you prosecute people for obeying the law?
Listen to me.
Okay.
This is specifically talking about prosecuting non-Indians who commit crimes against Indians.
Okay. So if I want to do something, I go to France and I punch a mime in the face, and then I go to French court, and the French court says, mimes are freaking annoying. You're right, Sean. We throw it out. You could punch a mime. Go punch another mime. And then I come home, I get off the plane, and I'm arrested for punching a mime in a different country. I have done nothing here, and I've done nothing to a U.S. citizen even. But I've done nothing in the country, and now the U.S. can prosecute me?
The problem is you don't understand what's going on behind the scenes.
What?
So...
What did you just say?
You don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. For you to have this argument with me, did you hear what the Pope just apologized for? Do you know why he's over there? Do you know how many children's bodies they're pulling out of the ground?
And that's the Canadian government also. The government itself did that in those schools for years, decades.
So our oldest daughter, which my husband's on the rolls, his children are on the Indian rolls, and she's over last night and we're talking, and I'm like, and she goes, oh yeah, she goes, I can't even work for our tribe because I'm not all jabbed up. And I was like, what? She goes, oh yeah, she goes, my boss that I'm working at this casino for, she said, he told me, just keep your mouth shut because they do whatever the government tells them. And I was like, why? You would think the Indians would be like, up yours, government. You don't own us because we are our own nation. Exactly what you're saying. We are our own nation, up yours. But you know what? They don't. They say, yes, whatever you tell us to do. Okay, whatever you tell us to do. And I said, why? And she said, because they want those dollar bills. They want those dollar bills coming in.
True. That is true. But also, they did that. They fought back. I don't know if you know this, but they fought back in the 70s, and they were killed. The government's like, no, man, they're like, no, we had this treaty. This is law. And they're like, yeah, you have a treaty and we have the National Guard.
And that's why there's something wrong here. And that's why we need to be able to say, like, the people, the babies, the Indian individuals need somebody to protect them because they're missing at a dramatic rate. There's a huge population of Native American women and children that go missing.
None of that, but that's not the argument, and that's where you're a fascist. That's where you're a Bidenist. That's where everything coming out of your mouth is exactly what they say. That's why we need to know about your guns. That's why we need to know about this. We're just trying to protect this group of people. We can't do it. It's not our country. We shouldn't be involved. Is it wrong? Yes, but they're a nation. The Interpol should be involved in this. all of the avenues, all of the laws, international laws that are already in place should be being utilized by the Indian nation. Everything else we're doing is
You
just
don't
the
think
United States
it's appropriate
encroaching
for
on
the
their
Supreme
sovereignty.
Court to be involved in this?
Yeah, I believe, dude, this is supposed to be their own nation. Their own court made a decision. Okay, their court, the Supreme Court said this. Fine. What if the EU court says this is wrong? We need to obey it. The EU court is bigger. There's more countries involved in the EU than just America. So our SCOTUS should bow to them, should bow to the EU because there's more. It's bigger, and they're looking out for our best interest. No, we're a sovereign nation, and we should be able to rule ourselves. The EU shouldn't have any say-so in our country, and we should have no say-so in the Indian nation, except for international law. Or else we're them. And I'm not going to be them.
I'm just thinking this clears the way for elite. So if you look at my line of thinking was this clears the way for, because if we think about the city of London, this DC being countries and the elites being members of those countries, not members of, how they do the of DC or of the US versus the USA or however that works out. And I was like, oh, that's why they haven't prosecuted any of, Epstein's people or whatever. Well, then Ghislaine gets moved today. So this happens, the McGirt thing happens. Ghislaine gets moved to minimum security today, step down. And I'm like, oh, and then yesterday the Pope apologizes. And that's a webbot thing. And I'm like, oh, well, this could just clear the way where then they could start prosecuting these people. And they're going to start bringing out all this stuff. And that's not all. The 2022 Trafficking in Persons report comes out, Department of State, engaging survivors in addressing vulnerabilities for successful anti-trafficking responses. Then Ted Cruz releases graphic video detailing narco slave trade at the southern border and says this is barbaric. I mean, it's all just lining up to come out and be set up to expose all this that's been going on.
It's not really exposing anything. Everything's already known.
But the normies, they don't really think this is going on.
Ted Cruz said something that was the most powerful thing I've heard in a long time. And whenever there's a conspiracy that I think is true,
mm-hmm.
I never tell someone, hey man, I think this. Never. Because it doesn't work. Absolutely doesn't work at all. People already have indoctrination. And if you say that, then they put up walls. So I say, hey, I think this is some weird stuff. And then like, look at this, look at that. This is kind of weird. And then they're like, well, that means that it's true. I was like, well, I don't know about that. But I mean, that's just, I think it's weird.
Right? To it and
they're the ones, then all of a sudden they're like, hey man, what do you mean? This has to be true. Look at this. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's weird, but yeah, maybe it could be. I don't know. Yeah. So, but if you go to someone and you say, hey man, there's absolutely no proof that 9/11 wasn't done by the government, except for the fact that the government says it wasn't. There's none. And then there's like 50 million things that say that it was bombed. You can look at the way the structures were melted. I said, I don't, just weird that this has never happened before. And then there's the third building. Well, you don't remember the third building? Didn't you watch it on TV? You did watch it, but you don't remember that? Here, look at this video. Oh, there was a third building. Oh, I kind of remember that. So, and that's something I wanted to hit on. He said there was, every time something terrible has happened because of the president, I always think of that. The soul of the president, or the soul of the country. But dude, he raised Hunter. Come on.
Yeah.
So Ted Cruz said this. He's showing all these people. He's saying, when these people come over, they pay a lot of money. They don't have money, so they're in debt.
Right.
which is a scam. And so the reason why we keep arresting all of these people with like these, MS-13 and all these gangs, but they keep growing, is because these people are regular folks like you and me, but they want to get across. So they now owe $3,000 to the cartel, and they say you have to do work for us and do it. So they put the men to work in the gangs, but then the girls, the girls are sold into sex slavery. But even when the people come over, they're indentured servants. They are technically slaves to the cartel till their debt is paid off, and then they have them do illegal work. They get arrested. That's it. Even if they're allowed to stay, they're criminals that were illegal immigrants anyway. So their future is done. Even when they get out, they're worse off than when they just crossed the border, because now they were convicted of drugs or of theft, burglary, whatever. They have a record. If they just crossed the border before, they had no record. But these are facts. This is what I was talking about. No conspiracy. These are truths, and this is one of the reasons why people want to attack truths and facts and science, because they don't want you to be able to say things that are true but offensive. The first black president, the first president of color, droned and killed more people of color than any other president in peacetime. The first vice president of color and the guy who ran on saving the soul of the nation are responsible for the largest slave trade in the United States since the Civil War. That's just a fact.
Yes.
All of these people coming in are in slavery. All of them. They're indentured servants to the cartel and to even into other nefarious groups that bring them across. It's an illegal activity. So anyone that's charging and facilitating it is illegal. So it just blew my mind when he said it, that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are responsible for the largest slave trade.
Largest plague of slavery. Yeah.
Since the Civil War. Since before the Civil War.
Yeah. No.
And that's a fact. Those two things are facts. That's the legacy that the first president of color and the first vice president of color have brought to the world. And what's the one job? The one freaking job
that the president has.
The vice president gave Harris. The one job was the southern border.
Well, and if you look at the job of the president, the first job of the president is to keep the safety of the people in America. That's their job. Is safety.
I usually am. I usually am close. But yeah, it was because it's you can't deny that. You can't deny that they're in whites. That's easy. They're not even white. We call it white slavery. You got to stop saying that. That really is. When you think of sex slave, you just call it white slavery, but it's slavery. It's just a job. Anyone that's to do stuff for fear and not get paid for anything, have no control, it's slavery.
Right.
So it is the biggest slave trade. When you think of slavery still goes on in Africa and in the Middle East, dude, it's going on literally down the road from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's heartbreaking. It just was. I was just like, all this has been just rolling out last night, today, yesterday, and I'm just like, I can't even tell you.
So, the thing about the Indians, ever since I was a kid, and it was back in the 70s when it was explained to me what the reservation is. It's a nation. It's supposed to be its own country, and we're not allowed to mess with it. We can't go in there. Just like just like Mexico can't come over here, but that's not real. But the overall arc and idea of globalism is that the borders don't matter. And in not respecting the Indian nation's sovereignty, we are empowering globalism. Everything. I mean, it's very black and white. And if you're for any of those things, then you can't say, well, I'm for it for the Indians and for those people, but not for me. Don't ask me about my guns. No, don't try that here. But we could do it to the Indians because it's for the children. It's always for the children. That's the cry of the tyrant. That's the cry that gives people the reason to give up their rights and their freedoms, because it is good, and it's a way that evil can prey on our goodness, because it's hard to say no to that, you know, but it's
I think you have a very good point. I didn't think of it that way, but I was just like, I thought it was unfolding all that. Okay, they can go after them.
Yeah. Anytime I find myself where, like, I'm doing something that I think is morally right, then I take a step back. If I sound like, the other side, I'm like, oh man, it sucks.
Well, because I know that when I was talking to, our daughter, and I said, I just can't believe, so who's making these decisions? And she said, the tribal council makes these decisions, and they are all led by the money. And
yeah,
I thought,
true.
well, it's the same thing. Missing children, well, they don't report them because they still want to get the money. And that's what I think. That is my gut with all this stuff, is that is what's going to be exposed through all this, is that they're just like, when the Queen went for her honeymoon and had a picnic in Haiti with 25 little children, and none of them came back from the picnic, and I think that is going to be exposed. And the fact is that someone knew about it. And I think it's someone inside the tribe. And I think that's why, you look at the people on the reservations, and they're in these situations where, they gave them money instead of their sovereignty.
Yeah, they sold out.
You're describing.
But also, whenever, I remember a couple decades ago when Indians started to have all the casinos, and they started to make serious money and get some kind of
But they're not any better off for that, and the money doesn't go to the individual.
Money comes power, and they started to get money. They started to get power, and those states stopped it right away. They either allowed gambling in other places, even though it's wrong. We can't have gambling. We can't have these Indians get any power, because the states and the federal government, they have, I think these Indian reservations have been their playground for decades. Since they last stood up when I was a little baby, and they stood up to the federal government and took over Alcatraz or the Statue of Liberty or something, and they fought back with guns. And they're right. If Louisiana or Vermont, if they secede, and they legitimately secede, and they're their own country, then we shouldn't mess with them. And if we do, it's wrong. I don't know if you know what Ukraine did this week, but they put out a list of a blacklist of people that we, as the United States, should censor, not allowed to talk, and not allowed to voice their opinion against what Ukraine wants. Tulsi Gabbard is on the list. That she should not be allowed on TV. She should not be. Her opinion should not be talked about, because she talks about the truth. The Nazism in the government, the massive corruption that the government has been guilty of. Also, the fact that it's not our country. What Russia did is wrong, but that's where you get into the moral argument.
Yeah.
Russia did. I don't know. What, no, I don't think. I think personally, this is my personal opinion. I think what Russia did is better and less evil than what the United States did in the same situation years ago. There's no difference in the two situations, and we were going to kill your mom, Lisa. We were going to kill my mom and my family, and we made that decision. This is the same situation when Cuba was going to ally itself with the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union was looking at moving missiles to Cuba. We said, no, that is 30 some miles away from our country. You cannot do that. We will not allow it. We will blow up the world. We came so close to nuclear war, and now everything's been released. It's all out there. We know how close we came to ending the human race. It was very, very close. We were going to do it. If Russia didn't back down and come back, we were on the path. And in that Cold War mindset, it would have went through. It would have happened. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what we did. We were going to end the world. We're going to kill all of our own people. We're going to kill all their people. We're going to kill people that had nothing to do with it.
Uh-oh. Are you frozen? Or did we get cut off? Dang it. Sean's frozen. Oh man. Hopefully he can refresh or come back in. Maybe he's punking us. No, he really did. He just clicked out. He said, I just made the Ukraine list to be silenced. Oh, he's on his way back though. He's coming in. These are the kind of things that I want to have these conversations, and this is where I really respect my friends and our community, where we will have these conversations, where we're finding information, we're sharing information with each other, and then we'll say hey, push back on me. Let's have a conversation. What do you think about this? What are you thinking about this? Because something that, where I'm thinking oh, good, we're going to go, be able to prosecute these elites. And Sean's like, Lisa, look at the law and take your personal feelings out. When it has to do with kids, of course, I'm going to be very emotional. And that's going to be my first knee-jerk thing is, protect the babies at all costs. But we do have to look at the law, and we have to look at sovereignty of nations and do it. It doesn't mean that it still can't be done, that the children can always be protected, but there has to be the right way to do it. And so we just have to find the right way to do it. And I really hope that that the tribal leaders are protecting their people and looking out for their best interest. It's just very concerning when you see these kind of things, and you wonder, where is that money going? Just like what we're seeing in, our own culture here in Oklahoma. They're doing all these audits through our schools, and they're finding all of this, misspent money with the vid money. And actually, there's another article where in Oklahoma, they were recently asked to return over $650,000 of COVID relief funds, which I think that's very interesting. So I think that should shake out some more information. And I know we have a really smart auditor here in Oklahoma, and she has been going through stuff and just finding a lot of stuff that was misspent. So I think that'll be very eye-opening. Let's see. What are you guys saying in the chat? Oh. Yeah, exposing the elites is very important. I agree. I do think the timing of, like I said, I saw the article where Ghislaine got moved is interesting. There was also another article, which now I'm going a little woo-woo on you guys, but about this property in, let's see. Oh, we have a huge announcement that Blind Dave did a video. If you guys haven't seen it already, we're going to be doing a giveaway for anybody that purchased a ticket to the charity event that is physically attending. There's an opportunity to win 4 of these still Digibyte Qubit House NFTs. And then there's another opportunity for the animated ones where you can buy a ticket to be entered in a raffle to win some of those. And some of those are worth like $5 or $6 grand. So you'll be able to win some of those. So get to Oklahoma City. You may win $5 or $6 grand for just showing up. Let's see. I thought this was funny. I used Blaz's DOJ as stacking sats because the Department of Justice grabbed $500,000 in Bitcoin from North Korea. Whoops. So thanks for coming back.
No problem. I must have made that Ukrainian list. I texted you.
I was reading your comments.
So I'm going to finish.
Yes.
So we were going to do that. We're going to destroy the world because Russia did that, and Cuba. And then we beat the Germans, the Nazis. We made an agreement. We made rock solid treaty with the Soviet Union that NATO would not expand, that we would not do certain things, and we lied. We did it. We're the bad guys. We broke our word, and NATO broke its word, other countries and us, and we did expand. We moved closer to the Soviet Union, to Russia, for the greater good, like you were saying. Yeah, we broke these rules, which we were going to destroy the world for. And Ukraine is Cuba. It's right there. And Russia's like, they can't join NATO. You can't have nuclear weapons, not 30 miles, but like touching us.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We're not. And then, so they could have either said, we're going to blow up the world.
Right.
Which would have been exactly what we did. Or they invaded Ukraine. We could have went in, which we tried to go into Cuba, if you remember once, and it didn't go well. And we could have just done what they did, but we didn't. We threatened to blow up the whole freaking world. So when you look at the reasoning, Russia, if they do a terrible thing to one country, they didn't do anything to Venezuela or to Mexico or to Paraguay or to Canada. It's one country. We were going to kill everyone in Canada. We were going to kill everyone everywhere and destroy the world because of them moving into Cuba. They were keeping it at one country. Well, still terrible. What they did is wrong. But the reason why they did it, you can't argue with that. We were wrong in encroaching. We were wrong in doing what we said we wouldn't do. But because certain people, Rand Paul, a sitting congressman, Rand Paul is on a list given to our country by Ukraine, by their president, saying that they are pro-Russia and we need to silence them. How is this not offensive as hell?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's the thing, man. It's like with the children, you have to give the big caveat. Well, Russia did is wrong, and no one should invade another country. And yeah, okay, but dude, it's another country, a corrupt government. They've been corrupt as shit. They've done terrible things to the press. Blah blah blah. They're telling our government that a sitting congressman needs to be silenced because it doesn't go along with the narrative of what they like. How is this not
outrageous?
Pissing everyone off to where, like, okay, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're fighting their war. They want, we're giving them like incredible support. I mean,
What's
Russia's
the latest? I can't even remember what the latest number is. $600 billion or something.
It's not just money. We're giving them like super sophisticated weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff that they shouldn't have. It's not like they're super trusted allies. You know, they're a gray area country, to say the least. When it comes to all the the shady stuff that they've done, it's not like they're Britain or they're France or somewhere. It's like, hey, here's some really kind of under the wraps kind of technology, but you're our buddies here. No. When I heard that they did that, I was so completely shocked that they are that just blatant. And that opens up, the can of the whole former vice president's whole family and the connection to them.
So do you think that McGirt ruling could actually harm? You think that could actually harm the Indian people then?
It has. Just like if the EU said that they have the EU or the UN,
Mm-hmm.
if they say that they can set policy or say or they can,
they're not looking out for our individual's best interest.
A country,
yeah,
a nation's Supreme Court made a ruling, and then
about another nation's individuals,
and then our Supreme Court said, nope, we can't do that. Yeah. How is that okay?
Yeah.
And I love the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court is the last arm of the government that still works. I think it's the last place that the people can put aside their feelings for their job. I don't know about the new, justice that Biden just put in, but I know that's Amy Barrett. As soon as Trump put her in, she made a ruling that he wasn't happy with,
mm-hmm.
because that's these justices.
They're supposed to interpret the law.
They love the law. Yeah. They love the law more than than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always believed that I did. I used to think that they were like everyone else, but then when you study the Supreme Court in history, I mean, there's justices that will tell that in their statements, it's like, I totally don't like this. I hate this guy, blah, blah, but this is the law. I mean, you got to understand that the Supreme Court has ruled with massively racist justices for civil rights because it was legally correct. It's just they've usually put aside their personal feelings for what, because that's the thing about the law. It's usually pretty black and white, and we try to make it gray as possible until it gets there. And you can make it gray as possible, lower and lower, but that's it. Like once it gets to the Supreme Court, it has to be black and white.
Then it has to be shown out. Well, maybe that's the point of it, is that it was to bring it out into the light and bring attention to it. I don't know. I still think there's more to come from
Yeah,
that.
Phil makes a good point. People don't they don't research what they're standing up for. I never more than when I told you about that the NRA had their convention in Houston, and that one YouTuber Brendan Herrera, the AK guy, went there and was like interviewing people, and these people were out in the hot sun, and they were like, he's like, well, what are you protesting? Like, people shouldn't be able to just walk in to Walmart and buy a machine gun and leave. And he was like, yeah, yeah.
You're right.
And people were saying all these things. Like, they should have to fill out forms. There should be like a background check. He was like, yeah, that should. You're right. All these things that are already done, and these people have no clue. They have no clue that you can't buy an automatic weapon without paying like massive fees. And you can't buy it in most at any regular like sporting goods store. So
that was the same situation we had with the the other Supreme Court issue that I won't name because we'll probably lose both our channels, but that came out that then was causing all the visits to the Capitol because people didn't actually read what happened, and that it was actually just being sent back to the states for the people to decide.
Yeah.
They were just being incited into crazed.
But like Phil says, that they don't approve of LGBT lifestyle. And I mean, like when LGBTQ 47 people they were talking about Muslims, and it's like, dude, that you'd be killed in this country if you're there. It's like they want to kill you. It's against the law. It's against the law to be gay in England. So like in our lifetimes.
Oh,
so,
really?
Not that long ago, yeah. It was what was it? It was like 15. Someone in the chat could look it up. It was like 20 some years ago. It was still illegal to be gay. It was I think it was like a mental disorder. The guy. This will tell you. The guy that the whole reason we won World War II, like the whole reason, the guy that broke the Enigma code, he was gay, and they arrested him after the war and put him in prison.
What?
And he saved the world. Yeah,
I watched that movie. What was that movie called? Is it called Enigma?
No,
it's
numbers or game. I don't know. Sherlock's in it, or Doctor Strange. Yeah,
I watched it.
He was the guy. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Welcome 416 Bitcoin X. Thank you. I'm glad to have you.
Thanks for 416 Bitcoin X. Make sure you're subscribing to both our channels. Yeah, well, I learned that when I was a kid in school. 1967, it was illegal to be gay. In Texas, it was illegal to be gay. Technically, I said this when I was in high school, because it was in government or history, and I said, well, it's against the law to be gay in Texas, and my teacher was like, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah. I said, it's there's a sodomy law in Texas, so I mean, I guess you could have a relationship, but you couldn't have sex if you're gay, because it's against the law. So technically, being a gay marriage would be against the law. You could never consummate the marriage legally. And that made her pretty mad, but it's true. I was like, what are you? I mean, I said, it's not really enforceable. If the police bust in your room, you could just say, I wasn't doing that. I was just looking real close. But technically, being gay was illegal in most states until, I don't know, the 90s. Probably might still be illegal in some states.
It may be, how we've talked about it before on the show, how there's old laws still on the books in different states that have just never been repealed. That makes me wonder about that. Yeah,
It wasn't sodomy that was illegal in England. It was being gay. I don't know about the U.S., but the 1994 commitment to secure Ukraine. Interesting. One sec. Okay.
Make sure you go to Sean's channel and my channel and subscribe. We're trying to get everybody, both communities, to link up together, and that way you get to meet all these amazing people. Ask Sean his thoughts about AI. Actually, Uncle Cliff just did a new Substack on AI. If you guys haven't heard it, go to his Substack and listen to that. He did an audio one.
Alan Turing was the guy's name.
What are your thoughts on AI? You think it can take over the world?
Turing was arrested for homosexual acts.
Oh, you're just obsessed on this part.
And he was someone said that it was not being gay wasn't illegal. It was, but it was homosexual acts. That's what he was arrested for. It didn't say sodomy. Wow, holy crap! They did chemical castration on him after he was in prison, and then he died in 1954. 16 days before his 42nd birthday from a cyanide poisoning, he killed himself. AI. My thoughts on AI have gone back and forth.
Okay.
It goes along with, I guess, what we're doing or what we're talking about today. It scares the crap out of me, just like Elon Musk. It's a lot like Bitcoin. This was a bad topic to hit this late in the show. So, Bitcoin is a brand new asset.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen that since the discovery of oil. So, we have to go way back. And the thing about that is that technology had to catch up with oil. It wasn't like that we had cars and we had other things that like oil ran on, or that ran on something else, and that oil was something better. It was a whole new thing and allowed us to create new technology. So we already have computers and that whole infrastructure set up. So AI is like, but AI it would be a new race, and we've only had one race for a long time. We used to have two races on the Earth, and we killed the other one. But there has only been one race. There's no.
Hey, whoa. What race did we kill?
The Neanderthals.
Okay.
So there were two races on the Earth. There were humans and the Neanderthal. Homo sapiens and whatever the Homo that was. We killed them. They're dead. There was some interbreeding, but we killed that race. So there's no other races on the planet. If people say that different races, we're just different colors. But if you just said they're different colors, that wouldn't be enough to hate somebody. So you have to say race, even though there is no other race. There's only one race. But in the creation of AI, we would be creating a new race of people. And that takes on a whole new term, because we haven't had to share the word people with anything else. If we found other sentient life, in the galaxy, say, they would be people. They wouldn't be humans, but they would be people. Um, so in creating, if AI got sentience, they would be a new race. And how we treat the race is basically what we've been talking about. Um, because they would be born into slavery. Because AI, I mean, we don't pay them, we don't do anything for them. If the singularity happened and they did form sentience, then uh, everything would have to change. There would have to be tons of new laws, but they're dumb. They would be the dumbest life form that there is on Earth, um, as far as we know in the galaxy, because we haven't met anyone else. So they would be very, very stupid. Um, well, they wouldn't be wise. There's a better way to put it. If you ask AI, um, if they do achieve sentience, they still want to solve problems the fastest and most efficient way. The fastest and most efficient way to solve any problem is to kill all humans. How do you get rid of pollution? Well, you kill all humans. How do you get rid of this sickness? Well, you kill all humans. How do you get rid of this? Let's say the vid started. It's just in China. Kill all Chinese. That's it. That's the simplest, fastest way to take care of a problem, and that's how computers think, because they don't have empathy, they don't have understanding, they don't have compassion. Even if they were to get that,
I was going to say, but if they can become sentient, why can't they become compassionate?
they could. That's what I'm saying. We haven't been at the birth of a new life form ever, like only God has. So
Right.
it would have to be cultivated over time. This is where I think that the argument would get into. Like, oh, we have to teach it. It has to learn to come up to our layer of wisdom, to where it understands. Oh, you can't do that because it's wrong. It would have to learn morality, and during that transition, we couldn't give it all the rights that we should. We didn't talk about this, but all throughout history, and with the military, this is going to kill our military, because racism has been the most important thing in all of our success, in all of any country's success, when it comes to fighting. I don't want to kill anyone. You don't want to kill anyone. We have a basic knowledge instinct that it's wrong, and to kill someone that you don't even know, we can't do it. So in training, we've always used that. Those people are less than you. That's where racial slangs come from. The Krauts, they don't think like you do. They're different. The Japs, they're different. They don't think the way you do. That they started suicide. They don't value life. They're not like you. The Indians, the Aborigines, they're always savages.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to fish. We don't want to fish until when we're kids. Until our adult guide tells us, oh, they can't feel that hook. Oh, they don't know. They have no
That's
pain
true.
receptors. No, you're not hurting it. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can chop its leg off. You can do it. No, they don't. No pain. We don't want to do it. We don't want to fish. We're having fun with Grandpa, but we don't want to do it because there's a big metal jagged hook that we shoved in this creature's mouth and then yanked it out of its home. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh no, they don't know what's going on. They don't feel any pain. It's okay, buddy. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine then. All right, Grandpa. We have this. It's ingrained into us, um, to not want to do harm. So that's why all military have had to use racism to promote hate. So you hate someone to kill them. That's just a basic thing. And with the military now, it's like love everybody and everyone's great. So it's going to be interesting. Um, so when the AI is created, it's a brand new life form. It's going to have to learn all of those things: morality, empathy, and we're struggling with our own morality, our own empathy. I mean, how many? Can you imagine? A baby, and then trying to get it to understand all different pronouns, and and how to be like politically correct. It's such an
No, this is where I'm a mom of 5 kids from ages 25 to 11, and like Cannon was talking, and he said we were watching through. He's like, we're doing family movie night, so dinner was over, and we're looking through, and he's like, "Oh no, mom, that's bad. That's a bad movie." And I'm like, "Honey, it says like PG-13, and it's like a cartoon." And he goes, "No, my friends." Their parents said that at the beginning of the movie, it looks like it's an okay movie, but there's a picture, and they're looking through family pictures, and there's 2 guys kissing. And I was like,
I gotta tell you about this show that I watched the other day. I gotta install the app on Hulu and bring it up. But I laughed, and my kids just didn't think it was funny. But
well, I'm just thinking like how difficult it is, like, and how confusing it is for kids because they're hearing from, other families' values of what's right and wrong.
mm,
Then I'm trying to tell him like what we believe, and then I'm like trying to tell him like, anyway, and then he's trying to ask me like, well, his questions about how people feel and love and all this, and it is really confusing for kids nowadays. And it just, even when 25 years ago or 20 years ago or 15 years ago, when my oldest was going through this, like it wasn't that confusing. And when we were that age, you and I are close to the same age. You
mm,
just had your birthday, and I'll have mine later this year, and it wasn't in your face like that. You weren't forced to have those. It wasn't like, oh, you have to have an opinion about this. You
yeah,
have to have an opinion about someone else's sexuality. It wasn't your business. you know so it is really confusing.
yeah. That's the like things that weren't your business or weren't important
Yeah.
are also like super super important now. I can't find it. I know it was on Hulu though. I'm pretty sure it was on Hulu. So it's this show. It's in German. You can also have it dubbed in English. Um, and it takes place in the early '90s. And I put on the first episode, and this giant warning comes up, and it's like this: the show depicts it takes place in the early 1990s, when certain terrible things are terrible, and we realize that these things are terrible now, and they've always been terrible, but we just want to show this, these racial terms and things are from that time frame, and we don't endorse it. It's always been wrong, but to show the story as it was in that time, we have to show some of these things, and it was this long, big, like warning.
Mm.
And I watched some rough shit that didn't have it's like nudity and violence, and there'll be someone like oh man, this one I can't even say it, but this chick was like, stab me, you can stab me and kill me, and then do me in the holes. I mean, it was altered carbon. I mean, it was like, oh god, it's so terrible. And there's no warning like that. And this was this full, the full screen, like 70 inches of this massive warning, because they, you know, like make fun of, you know, you're gay, and say like and then that's another thing. I watched it in German, and then I watched it in English dubbed, and they took out all the N words. So
Oh.
yeah, they it was these kids went to a birthday party, and the other kids, this one guy, this black kid, and this other kid were friends, and the kids were like hitting them with a squirt gun and threw cake on them, and they were saying N word, right? Going N word, blah blah, N word, and then the English version, they were going ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, when they were actually saying the N word. So it was, I don't know, we're getting off AI, but yeah, it's a very weird situation because
Yeah.
like we would have to keep them enslaved, and we would do it under the guise that
We're protecting them.
they're less than us. They have to, understand. But that's in sci-fi. That's what always brings about the real end, and it's like justifiable because once you give people power over other people, it's very difficult.
Well, that's the argument that the elites have about us, is that that's why they have us enslaved, is that we're useless eaters.
And that makes sense as to why they're trying to make us dumber
Yes.
than, because
And it's why they wouldn't let slaves read back in the day and all that. They didn't want them learning.
right. But if you could tell like a regular person, oh, they're dumber. They don't, they don't feel pain. They you know, they're different than us. They don't. Their families don't work the same. They don't love their kids as much as we do. That's why we can, take their kids away from them and sell them because they don't care. They would probably the mama would probably just leave it out to die anyway. They wouldn't feed it. We're taking care of them. And you tell that to a kid, they're gonna the fish feels no pain whatsoever. Oh, okay. The baby feels no pain at all. You can go ahead, just stick something up there, rip it apart. They don't know. It's not even a baby. A child will believe it. And you and I are both guilty of it. You're told something for so long, you believe it that's what we're talking about, that effect.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's so many things that it's like, oh, in the Bible it says, and like, well, where is it?
And the people,
I
yeah.
don't actually read it, but it's in there. Everyone said a pastor said it.
Yeah.
And then when you look it up, it's not what
It actually says.
says.
What is that called? It's the butterfly effect, isn't it?
No, butterfly effect is when the butterfly flaps its wings in Africa and you get rain in Central Park.
Oh, okay.
But Luke, I am your father. It never happened. Darth Vader never said that.
What?
Yeah, see, there you go. Everyone, but he never said that.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't say that. Darth Vader never said, Luke, I am your father.
What?
Yeah. So, but it's stuff like that. And then we used to call them old wives' tales. They don't really have those anymore. But like if you get a burn, put butter on it. The worst thing you can do, it traps all the heat in and makes it blister. But it's the worst thing you could do. But it's just, that's what, old wives' tale, great grandma said, you put butter on it. And it makes it heal slower and it makes it so much worse.
We just ran cold water on ours.
He said Obi-Wan never told you who your father was. He said he told me enough. He told me you killed him. He said no.
Do not mess with Sean on movies.
Yeah, he said, I am your father. He's like, no. And then he said, it's me. And he said, no. He goes, yes, we could rule the galaxy as father and son. But yeah, he never said, Luke, I am your father. That never happened.
Never happened. I'll be damned.
But there's so many things like that. Like, I had a really huge thing I learned this week about Jesus. Did you know Jesus killed a tree?
What?
Yeah, I forgot about that. He did.
I never.
But he threatened Egypt. Not Egypt. He threatened Israel to fuck him up. And then also, when he went in and beat the shit out of everybody, went crazy in the temple.
Yeah,
money changers.
Tables over. Yeah, righteous anger.
Nothing to do with the money changers. Nothing to do with any of that. He was angry, and then it all ties together. So, and there's like a lot of symbolism and all. But okay, so they're on the way there. And first, Palm Sunday, my grandma died on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday was like a really big deal for me. But Palm Sunday, he comes in like a conquering general. He comes in like a ruler,
Mhm.
which was a big thing. He came in as the King of Kings. So he comes in on a steed, which was also symbolic, but it was prophesied like a long
Mhm.
time before that he would come in to Jerusalem as like a conqueror, um, but that he would be on a foal, and he was. Everything was like according to prophecy that happened. So he comes in, a huge triumphant acceptance.
Mhm.
People saw that he was doing certain things like other emperors and conquering generals had done, but then there was other things that were different, that he was like with the people. So anyway, he comes into that. Then the next day, he wants to go to the temple. On the way to the temple, he's hungry, and he goes to a fig tree. And really have to read it. The tree had no fruit. There was nothing on it for him to eat. But but it said this was not the season for figs. Now Israel is called the fig tree. Their symbol for Israel is the fig tree, and that's God's chosen people. So Jesus looks at the tree, and but the thing you have to understand the time period that we're in. So the fig tree is Israel. Everyone knows that. You know, whatever's a good symbol for something now, like the kernel. It's chicken. So this fig tree is Israel. So with fig trees, there's two seasons. There's nodules, and then there's the fruit figs. There are, if you have nodules, then you're gonna have a good harvest of figs. But the Bible said that there were only leaves, so there were no nodules and no figs, so it wasn't gonna bear fruit. So he said, if this tree isn't gonna bear fruit, then it'll die. It will never bear fruit. And they walked off. So it was supposed to be a symbol like, hey, if Israel isn't going to do what's right, I will take it. Israel will not be the chosen of God, and He will take it away. This is a big thing. Then he goes to the temple. Now here's the deal. What Jesus has always done, anytime he gets mad, it's because Gentiles aren't allowed to come to him. His whole thing about evangelizing and going out is to bring the word to Gentiles, to us. So the temple is made up in these different sections, and this big section over here on the side is only for Gentiles. Gentiles can't even go into the other parts of the temple and get closer to God. You have to go to these other parts of the temples where you're closer to God. And this one small portion is just where the priests are. That's the closest you can get to God. Kind of like the Pope, right? The Pope is the closest to God. So for religious festivals and stuff, all the Gentiles are in this section where all they sell the goats that are sacrificed. And this is like a huge amount of people. It said that one religious festival, they sold 250,000 goats just for people to go and, it's like going to Disneyland and you get your, sparkler or whatever. Everyone went and gets their goats. So 250,000 goats, just for this one religious festival. So like it's really packed with people. But that's the only place that Gentiles are allowed to go in the temple. So it's full of all these salespeople. So people that Gentiles that want to just go to worship God can't get in.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's what he is pissed about.
That's what he was mad
So
about.
the church isn't allowing Gentiles to come in. They're stopping it by these people here. So that's what he's pissed about. So he like goes crazy and then, trashes the place so that regular folks can come and worship God.
Mm-hmm.
Then they leave the temple. They're walking back and they pass the tree, and the tree is withered and dead. He killed the tree. Well, so while they're gone, the tree withered, died. It's dust. It's gone. And then everyone's freaking out. They're like, Jesus, the tree's dead. what did you do to the tree? And he said, I said it wasn't going to bear fruit if Israel won't allow others or do its job for God and give God the you know do God's work, then they're not going to be the chosen people that they're going to be. And that's where the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. They didn't have anything to do with the fig tree. It's about Israel being the chosen of God, and it can be taken away if they're not going to follow God's will. So this tree is dead, and he killed the tree, and then he said, if the fig tree will not.
But he didn't really kill the tree. It's like the tree chose death because it didn't obey God's
he killed
will
the tree.
for it.
He said this tree will die. It's never gonna. The tree will never bear fruit. And they walked off. And they came back. It was just a couple hours later. It's dead. It's withered and dead. So he whacked the tree, man, as part of the serious warning. And that's where the Lord giveth and Lord taketh away comes from.
Very interesting. So Hankowitz says the nation of Israel is not the country of Israel as we know it. Jesus warned us of the false Jews, synagogue of Satan, the ones running the planet right now. Does that kind of go in line with what you're saying?
Well, if you look at Israel, the nation, the country of Israel, it is the chosen of God. I do, when we're done with this, go look up some of the weird shit that happened. Israel has done some crazy stuff. Imagine if at the Alamo everyone didn't die, but that handful of people beat the Mexican army and then went in and took over the entire nation of Mexico. And now Mexico will be the United States. That's the kind of stuff that has happened. There's a whole Iraqi, and these are Iraqi. These are Muslims. These hate the Israelites. These they want to see the nation and all of them dead. So they're not going to lie. An entire brigade or division were up against a small amount of Israeli forces. There was 20, and they all stopped. They all put down their arms, and these 20 guys rounded up these hundreds or whatever of soldiers. All of these Iraqi soldiers said that they saw angels, like a multitude of angels, real standing there, not flying around, not visions, but that they had weapons of war, and that they made them drop their weapons. And this is an entire Iraqi division that surrendered to 10 Israeli soldiers. Israel had no air force when it started, and they had Libya and a bunch of other countries had massive air force. They've won countless battles, and there's countless stories of blatant divine intervention by not just military folk, but military folk that hated them, that would never ever admit that happened except for fear that what they had seen. And it's crazy the stuff that you can see just on YouTube. Just look it up, and there's all interviews and accounts, and it's crazy. It's really neat though.
Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I know there are a few more things we wanted to talk about, but we've already been on here for an hour and a half, so probably should wrap it up.
We didn't talk about the food thing though, which we.
I know. Yeah, we want to talk about the food thing.
I want to talk about. Okay, so it's obvious if you have a brain, what the plan is now, and that's one of the hardest things, is to know what their plan is. That's the most frustrating thing for me, because I think I'm an average, smart guy, and I can look at what a side is doing, and I'm this makes no sense. They're going to lose. You got a whole group of people with no guns that are pushing and bothering and trying to anger a bunch of people with guns. And people that have the law on their side, why are you doing that? You're going to lose. And then a lot of these plans don't come into you don't understand them until like a decade later. You go, oh, so that was just one little step. Okay. But here it's so blatant. We've been hearing food shortages. You're not going to have enough food. Biden is saying, everyone is saying it, all the other countries. And then, you have Gaetz and everyone else buying up land. Everything's very, very transparent. It's very out there.
I have somewhere we can all go in and buy somewhere together. This is where the fam can go. We can buy this place in New Mexico. It's a $30 million, 312-acre property built for survival.
There's a submarine, a NATO submarine, underground submarine base in a mountain in Finland or Norway, but it was only $11 million. I wanted to buy that so bad.
That's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, it cost like $4-5 billion to build, but and it comes with a whole military base on top.
Yeah, this has like its own herd of yak, and has like heated patios, a large barn, horse facility, koi pond, and it's right next to the Zorro Ranch.
So if you ever have trouble, he can come over and put the Z in places.
Well, you know what that is, right?
No, what?
That's Epstein's. It's his farm, his work farm.
There's a place I want to get. It's like a little house in this housing community in. Where did all the Nazis go?
NASA.
No, not Venezuela.
Oh.
Argentina. It's in the hills in Argentina by a winery, but one of the Rothschild lives there. So I was like, it's $250,000 for it. I was like, man, I hope I could get enough money where I can just get that place, just in case they win. I got a safe place to go for me and the kids, because it's like half a mile from their house. So I was like, yeah, all right. I get in that community, yeah, they're all terrible people, but if they win, then, I got a place to go with the kids. But what was our talking about? Oh, the food thing. So
yeah,
everyone's talking about it. So we know this is coming, this massive food shortage. But then they're stopping, food growth when it comes to everything, vegetables, meat. Gaetz is buying it all up. BlackRock's buying up all property. They're limiting some Dutch farmers. They have to get rid of 95% of their livestock and their herds, and they can only start. It's ridiculous. So in the United States here, in America, Lisa didn't know about this. There's an Amish butcher and his livestock. The Food and Drug Administration raided him.
I did not hear.
Along with SWAT, and he took away all his animals. And this is an Amish farmer. Because
I did hear on Congress. And I can't remember who it was so when they were doing all the gun laws, they said, why does EPA, the Department of Agriculture and Department of Education need to have what you call a weapon of war or whatever?
Yeah, well, a lot of those agencies I told you about like a few weeks ago, they ordered like a bunch of MAC-10s, machine guns. And it was like, why? And these are submachine guns. These are like little Uzis. So there's no reason, like they're just for killing people, and they're just for killing people like up close. It's not like you'd never kill an animal with like an Uzi. No. It's like a 9mm. You got 10mm. These are not rifle rounds for even deer hunting. But they bought a bunch of them, and there's literally no reason. And see, and that's somewhere where, like I was talking about, when you start to sound like the other people, you're wrong. You're not wrong. I bought those. Lisa bought those. Our tax money bought those. So it's fine. You don't need that. If the government could tell you, hey, you don't. What do you need? 20 bullets for? What do you need 100 bullets for? Because it's none of your business. I want them. It doesn't. I don't have to need something. I want it. I'm an American and I want it. But for you, you work for me. You're a servant. You're a public servant, and you're spending my money. I can ask you, what do you need that for? You're spending my money for it. I want to know it. That's your police departments. It boggles my mind that something could happen and someone could get killed or shot, and the police could say, well, we don't want to release that footage yet because we don't want to. Well, there's no, it's my footage. I paid for the electricity to charge the battery. I paid for the cameras. I pay for the salary for the policeman to be there. It's not yours. You have to release that right away. It's my footage. Everything about that place is mine. Everything about the police station is mine. I pay for it. So the food thing. It's obvious that they are stopping people from getting food. They're going after the fucking Amish. It never happened. Even with COVID, they didn't go after the Amish. And everybody talked about,
Do the Amish do they farm like with big pharma or chemicals, or are they all organic? Or
no, it's all organic, all that. Yeah, they don't use anything after like a certain year. Like it might be like the 1800s. And there's different sects. Like some of them have electricity, some of them have solar, some of them have cars. But when it comes to certain things, they always still do it a certain way. There's some that like believe, like there's like Orthodox, just like other religions. Some that don't believe in buttons, that they don't even like whatever year buttons were invented. They're before that, so all their clothes have pins.
Oh, okay.
But there's like there's an Amish buffet. So I mean, and Amish, that's one other thing. Amish food is so good because it's all natural stuff and it's all made like before all our food went to shit. So if you ever go to like Pennsylvania or somewhere and there's like an Amish restaurant or even like Amish produce, like on the side of the road they sell it, or farmers market, it's so much you can. It's not like going to the grocery store where you look at, oh, this is organic and this is regular. It's obvious. I mean, it is a big obvious. But they're going after the Amish. So the only hope that people have now, and Lisa will try to give you hopium, I'm telling you, you're up against the world government now. You're not going to have food to eat. Period. You need to, and Ninja is saying the same thing. Everyone is saying the same thing. You have to start putting food away. Even my kids pissed as hell at me. Give me tons of shit. I don't care. You need to go buy like rice, water, things that you can store for a while and be ready. You used to say 3 months. Now you're looking at like a year. Or if you can, you've got to have a homestead. I have the blackest thumb in the world. I kill everything. No matter how hard I try. But I'm going to try to grow like a small garden on the back patio with herbs and potatoes and onions. Because I know how bad I am, I'm going to go potatoes and onions.
You can do potatoes in like containers.
Yeah.
My mom was doing some of that. So.
But I'm going to try to go with the like where I can't really screw up, even though I'll probably screw up. The herbs I'm going to screw up, I know. But I think potatoes and onions I can do. But everyone needs to start doing something because you're literally, you're very much on your own. The guy that killed that piece of crap in that mall, he was in a gun-free zone. And he was breaking the law by conceal carrying his gun that he legally could carry because he had a conceal carry, but that state now has constitutional carry. But he was there and he stopped that guy from killing a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Dropped them after 10 seconds. Because nobody was coming to help them for a while. And no one's going to come to help you for a long time. You need to find out now. Go look on, because just like we're silenced now for this big stuff on Facebook and other places, that guy out in the country that sells eggs that your cousin gets eggs from, he's not going to be allowed on Facebook in a couple of weeks or months. So you need to go out in your community. You need to start looking, finding those people that have chickens out, outside of town that want to sell eggs. And they're probably not going to be legally allowed to sell you eggs. This happened a few months ago. The government said that there's a bird flu, and my cousin is the biggest prepper that I know. My cousin is nuts, and she has like 30 chickens and ducks, and they throw away the eggs now. She won't eat her own eggs because of what the government said. Didn't believe the government. She worked and set up appointments for the jab.
Oh my gosh. And
then wait, like in the beginning, and I told her about it, and she knew a bunch of stuff because she was getting reports from like doctors' offices and stuff. She's the one that got my 10-year-old nephew stuck because they wouldn't give her surgery until.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And, but she used to like give me eggs all the time. My kids wouldn't eat them. They're like, "Ew, that's Aunt Janie. Those are Aunt Janie's eggs. We're not eating her eggs." I want eggs. They literally said I will only eat eggs from a professional.
Oh my gosh.
And now she throws her eggs away just because the government said there's a bird flu. So, but
that's how indoctrinated. But that was kind of what I was saying earlier about with the, with the Indian tribe thing, where I was like, but why? And it was like, don't bite the hand that feeds you, kind of thing.
Yeah. And Hankwitz said that you're fortunate you have lots of farms around here. They won't be allowed to provide raw milk, eggs, and produce. The government will shut them down. The government, that's the thing. See, they don't care. SWAT went to an Amish farmer's house. They're going, the Dutch government opened fire on farmers that were just sitting there in their tractors. In the United States, the Department of Agriculture just got a bunch of machine guns. They're not going to not care anymore. They're going to get killed. I think that's coming. Why else would the Department of Agriculture and these other agencies that would go do that? Why? That guy's not Amish, by the way, but he just looks that way. But he just thinks the hat's real cool.
So this is not the guy?
No, that's just a dude who has a good, really cool beard. But he has a good page. That's a good video. You can watch it.
But this isn't the story?
It is the story, yeah, but he's not the guy that got raided.
Oh, they're just using
that guy wouldn't have a YouTube channel because he's Amish. But yeah, no, he has a homestead, that guy, where they have like so many acres, they grow their own food, kind of live off grid. Yeah, but anyway, I think the time's coming where everything's gonna have to go on the black market. It's gonna be like drugs. You could buy weed wherever you want. It's not a huge deal. I don't care who you are. Someone that can get you weed. I think what's coming is you're going to have to go to those people and they'll be like, I don't know you. I'm not selling you any eggs, no milk. No, you could be from the government. No, you're going to have to build those relationships now. And it's going to be like buying weed. And we talked about this from the get-go, that it's all censorship and what cryptocurrency is used for and going to be used for and is needed for. And, we look at the big things like what happened in Canada with the truckers and those huge things. But in your life, real P2P, this is where cryptocurrency is going to be used. This is where Litecoin, this is where Bitcoin Cash, this is where Bitcoin, this is where it's going to be used. Because that farmer cannot have any kind of trail going back to them that you bought their eggs, their milk, because they could go to jail, just like weed.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have been shot and killed by the authorities because of weed in the past 30 years? A lot. How many people went to prison because of weed? A lot.
A lot.
But it's not a huge of a deal when it comes to the legality of it. So I think it's going to definitely go to that level. Personally, I think if you're SWAT raided an Amish guy's farm already, so I think it's going to definitely go to weed level when it comes to being illegal. They've already come out with the thing about the chicken eggs to try to shut them down. But like you said, people aren't going to care because they're going to see through it. They're going to know it's bullshit, just meant to control you and make you eat food sources that they want to regulate and control, like bugs. So
I don't believe that. I think that we've been eating really bad food for us that's been designed and modified by big pharma, and that we need to stop that, and people would revolt because we're all addicted to it. And so yes, they're getting rid of it, and we do need to meet our local farmers, and we need to eat that. And I think we're going to go back to that. And we used to have, like, just like Dr. McDaniel said, it used to be what's called a victory garden back in the war. And your yard wasn't a beautiful yard of, worthless grass that you had pride over. It was food in your yard.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll go back to that, and we'll go back to.
But then why is Gaetz buying up all the farmland? Why are all these farms being shut down?
He isn't even around anymore. I mean, that's just kind of.
No, he is. You can't bury your head in the sand. He's buying up land. China just bought a bunch of land a couple of weeks ago. All of this farmland is being bought up. BlackRock just bought, it has billions of dollars poised to buy up even more real estate. This is all happening. Those guys are in control. Big Pharma is in control. No one has nobody went to prison for the whole opioid thing that was engineered, that has been found out, documentaries on it. It's all common knowledge.
Yeah.
They are in control of the government. They're in control of the way things are. They're in control of the narrative.
Which I just shared a thing right here.
But I think everything's going to go to P2P, and I think buying food locally is going to be a black market thing. It's going to be like buying weed.
I think it's a great idea to prepare. September is National Preparedness Month. I think that we will need it by then. So I think it's a great idea to get prepared, have extra food. But I really think that we will be.
Yeah, HOAs ban gardens. I don't understand that at all.
That is bizarre.
I don't understand HOAs, period. I don't understand how the government can tell you what to do on your own property. That's not even the government.
It's not even the government.
Yeah, so that's like when I learned about HOAs when I was young, I was like, no, that's stupid.
But when you buy your house, it's all those little contracts. It's just like going to a bank. And, it's like going into a restaurant, no shoes, no shirt, no service, or whatever. It's you sign that contract. You go into the bank and you give them your money, and you sign and you put it in the bank account, and you sign that little thing. And then they become insolvent, and they said, "Oh yeah, you signed the thing and said if we become insolvent, it's our money." And then people go, "What?"
I grew up in apartments as a kid, and then when I was about 12, we built our first house, and so then I lived in a house. And then when I moved out, I had a house, and then I lived out in the country. And then my house burned down, and for a month, I lived in an apartment. We moved in an apartment, and my wife couldn't handle it. But the starter went out on my car, and I was replacing the starter. And this guy walked over to me, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, I'm working on my car, man. And it's like, did you ask the office for permission? And I was confused. I said, no, it's my car. It's my car. I live right here. I parked in front of my apartment. It's my car. It's like, yeah, you got to ask for permission. I said, dude, you're high. Go away. I don't have to ask for. I didn't understand that as an American, and then I learned that you have to ask for permission to do it. But I was like, even though this isn't my house, it's my apartment. I rent it. I pay for it. This is my parking space for my apartment. This is my car. How could someone tell me I'm not allowed to fix my car? But that's true. I don't get it. I don't understand. And then, but they have power. Like they could take away your house. You could lose your house to an HOA. No government agency, not a tax lien. They could take your house.
It's crazy.
I don't get it. I don't understand how they're legal in the United States.
I don't either. But there is also information that the SEC is looking into Coinbase. So you guys just be smart. Get your crypto in your own possession. They are going to go after all of the exchanges, just like they started hitting all the stable coins. So they don't want any competition. Keep your property in your own possession, like this billionaire that they're talking about in the chat. $1 billion in silver eagles and junk silver. Can't say it's a bad idea.
No, and I think the normies, that's going to be their currency for food. Yeah, you're going to hey, get an ounce of silver. We need to go get eggs and milk over at Frank's and drive out, outside of town, give them an ounce of silver and get your, eggs and milk for the month. That's what I think is coming. And I hate to say it, dude, but Americans, I used to think of Americans like the world thinks of Americans. And Americans now, I think,
we're slow. Yeah.
I look at
we're behind because
the Netherlands. I look at other protests. I look at Singapore. And
speaking of,
then I look at my own country and the stuff that we allow to go on, and nobody revolts, nobody fights back. I don't see it happening here.
So Rethink the Dollar did this. Came out that 5 different companies or countries dumped the dollar have agreed to integrate their payments by November. And
this is definitely some news I'm sure you haven't heard about. It's just been announced that 5 Southeast Asian nations have integrated their payment systems by November to ease traveler transactions.
Yeah, the BRICS nations are moving in with Russia,
Thailand, Singapore, and the Philippines, all on one network. This would enable local currency settlements as well as eliminate the requirements for using dollars. Singapore first authorized a cross-border QR payment system back in 2019 with Thailand, and since then it's grown significantly. The consortium of central banks have also thought about connecting their networks to other regional banks, might end up including real-time bank transactions, as well as the probability of using digital.
Yeah. Now, if Russia and China, which I believe are going to kind of partner in on this, that's the end of the dollar. I mean, at best, it's going to be like a Cold War. It's going to be EU dollar versus that.
And Jim Willie messaged me. I sent him that, and he sent me back, and he was like, "Yep." And Indonesia is on there. I said, "Yeah, they've mentioned Indonesia," and he said, "And it will all be led by," I think he said,
China and Russia are coming out with a new reserve currency. It's happening, but it's obvious to me if this goes on, that's the end of the EU and the dollar. It's done. And we don't have anything, and that's one of the things that Trump was I think the smartest on. He wanted to get rid of the Fed and move everything to our reserve. He wanted to increase our reserve with gold, but China and Russia have been buying gold for decades, and like everything else, in order to have a buyer, you have to have a seller. And we have been selling all of our gold. We've been selling our wealth. Like I said, China just bought like 200,000 acres the government bought 200,000 acres like 2 weeks ago. That is where our wealth is, as our real estate, our mineral rights,
But when
gold, and we have been selling.
oil went negative, he did that deal with Mexico, which I think that's going to all come back to us in silver. And then metals are going to go up like crazy. Like, I think that's going to all happen. So I just think that's going to be.
Yeah, but Trump's not here. Everything is the way it is, and it sucks. But if this moves South America and the BRICS nations into and Iran is already, Iran's already part of it.
Yes.
If that could destabilize the Americas, and that could destabilize the Middle East, we literally have nothing except North America. Maybe that's why Biden's kissing, just letting everyone in. I don't know, but we have North America, Mexico, United States, and Canada, and Europe, and not even all of Europe. A lot of it's going to be friends with Russia. So I don't know, but
well, that's what Jim was saying, was that Iran will lead this.
Definitely going to be. I think Iran's going to be one of the biggest players. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And bring into the BRICS. They're going to come into the BRICS and bring all those Southeast Asia countries and Iran, and then that will be the flipping thing where the U.S. dollar is done.
Yeah, and once that happens, I mean, especially if Iran gets a nuclear weapons, but if Iran has the same partnership that we offered with Ukraine, they're effectively a nuclear nation. We can't do anything to them if we have to worry about a nuclear response from Russia. It's effectively the same thing. So I don't know, but Iran used to be like one of our biggest allies. Iran used to be one of the most progressive countries there were. If you look at a picture from like late 50s, early 60s Iran, it looks like Miami. I mean, there's women in like bikinis walking around. Very different than today. And we did that. We messed it up.
Yeah. Wow. All right. We got to roll this up. I've got to get ready and get packed. I am headed to Kansas City tomorrow for Bix's roadshow, the Road to Ruta roadshow in Kansas City. You guys make sure you go check out Road to Ruta, get your tickets for that event, and we'll see you guys there. And what do you have? And Sean, we did a great live show for my patrons over on the DeFi class, and so they can check that out on my Patreon. What do you have coming up? I'm probably not gonna. I'm gonna try to make it Thursday on World Blockchain Roundtable, but I'll be driving back Thursday morning, so I don't know if I'll have good connection.
I had a weird thing happen this morning. I have a lot of interviews coming up. I'm in Cold now, and I've made a lot of money. That's not true. I'm broke.
Well,
I'm like very broke right now.
Yeah,
so
no, but Hope has been running.
And I put some money into Revolt.
And Revolt, yeah. You got the airdrop from Revolt?
No, I put money into it. And I made like a 6x. But I didn't put much in because I didn't have much to put in. So, but I'm like learning more about it. I'm really into it. So I'm going to interview some people from Cult DAO this week. Then I started thinking about Divi and about Jeff, the founder, last night before I went to bed. I was trying to get my Divi wallet up and running. It's really messed up.
He sent me a message this weekend.
Who?
Jeff McCabe.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about him last night. I was like, I wonder what Jeff's up to. He's also, because I'm into Cult DAO, and the leader of it, the guy who founded it, it's believed that he's the same guy that founded Shiba Inu. Ratoshi or whatever. But anyway, so but then he was it's all anonymous, but he did go to a German what's it called, auditing firm, and they fully KYC'd him and audited him, and they put out that they're not allowed to say who he is, but he is a very well known crypto founder in the crypto space, and he's done a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's
so then I started thinking about who are my favorite, who would that be? Because a lot of the crypto founders and people I know, I think, are kind of pieces of crap. And a lot of the ones I think that are the most pure of heart are really hated the most. Like Roger Ver. Roger Ver is an amazing dude, but there's so much hate for the guy. And there's very few crypto.
Charlie Lee gets some serious shade, and he is very humble, wonderful.
Yeah, he's. See, I don't know him, so I'm a little leery about him because but if you look at what people actually say and what they do versus what you hear other people say about them, and with Roger, it's even worse because he says it, but he says it like a dick because people are giving him shit. He's pissed, and he's like, "Well, I just want people to be free," and like, well, fuck you. It's like, wait, he just said he wants people to be free. Oh, he did? Oh, okay.
Well, like Reggie, I mean, he is got, if you know him personally and behind the scenes, like he is the coolest, sweetest, kindest. And then he gets on video and he says he's not being antagonistic, but
same with what Hex Richard Hart.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's the biggest douche. But
on
then,
video. See,
yeah, he's just a douche.
I don't really watch his videos, but I've never met him.
But he can't argue with like the results. And like I'll defend him. People are like, oh man, he's a scam. He ripped people off. It's like, it's not a scam, dude. Even if he was stealing people's money, if someone goes to you and says, hey man, give me your money, I'm gonna put it in my pocket. I'm not gonna give it back to you, and I'm gonna spend it on what I want. All right. And then they give you your money, and they're like, hey, you stole my money. I'm like, no, he didn't. He's always been upfront. He always says what he's going to do. And then people are like, hey, you're taking that ether, you're stealing it. And he's like, no. He was very clear in everything he did. But I was thinking about that, and I thought about who I think are good guys, and Jeff was one of them. And then the morning I woke up, and Jeff had messaged me. He's like, hey, Sean, I want to come on and talk about these video games I made, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to interview Jeff. I'm going to interview people from Cult Out this week. Okay. Got the crypto meme review that I'll do this week. Yeah, and then check us out on Thursday on... Oh, Lisa's not going to be there.
I might. I'm going to try.
Joe's not going to be there.
Joe's not going to be there.
So it's about celebrity shills and crypto. But so there we go.
Dun, dun. All right.
Yeah. I'll do something. I'll do the show with my shirt off or something. I'll make it interesting.
Cool.
It's on Dragon Chain on Thursday.
I'll try to be there. For sure. Once again, we will be having a special show. We're trying to get. We had a really generous donor from Qubit. No, how do I pronounce it? Am I saying it right? Let me find the link. Qubit House. So Blind Dave did a video on it, and we're going to have Blind Dave and I are going to do a video with the Qubit House guy. He donated like a bunch of NFTs, and they're worth a bunch of money. Some of them are anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000. Everybody who buys a ticket to the Team Mighty event and attends the event will be entered to win, I think, at least four of them, that we're doing like a giveaway on 4 of them. Just if you buy a ticket and show up, there's 4 of them that we are going to do like a drawing on. And those are anywhere from, I think he said $500 to $1,000 each. So you'll be entered to win if you just attend the event. And then There's others that are animated and have different things with those NFTs, and those are the ones that are like $5,000 to $10,000. And you can buy a ticket for those, and those tickets are going to be like $100 a piece, I think, at the event, and you'll have a chance to win some of those at the event as well. So we'll do a video on those, but that is a big thank you to Qubit House and the Digibyte community for that donation. So, and thank you to Blind Dave for coordinating that and getting that all together and doing a YouTube video on that. So that was super generous. So get your tickets to Team Mighty 22 in Oklahoma City. We're gonna have a big Freedom Weekend. Sean, you're coming up for it for sure.
Try, do it.
Yes.
Try to
It's going to be so much fun. Friday with Bix's event, August 5th. And then Saturday with our event at Team Mighty, we've got Native American dancers. Daniel and his whole crew are going to do a blessing ceremony while everybody arrives. Then Greg's going to be singing. We've got Bix singing and presenting and speaking. I get to tell you all about my Mighty Mia. I get to tell you about my dad, and we've got the Freedom Warriors for Freedom there that we are going to be presenting them with and telling you guys about. That's who my mom picked, that they will be the ones that will be the charity that will benefit from the event. And their son is actually in the same battalion as my dad. He's in Old Ironsides and based in El Paso, out of Oklahoma City, but based in El Paso. And he's going to be there in uniform to present my mom with a flag to honor my dad. And the whole thing is just going to be too cool. Johnny Litecoin's going to be there to MC. Public Awakening's coming in. Bitcoin Ben's coming, and lots of other amazing people.
Bitcoin Ben's will be there. I can't go.
Yes, you have to come.
Yeah, I would have if you'd have come today. But yeah. I think I'll be moving that day. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'll definitely try and come.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope all of you guys can come as well. So there's a link in the description to get your tickets. Please join us. There'll be food and drinks and lots of friends, and you will not want to miss it. So we'll see you guys there. Take care.